It is Monday in the city of Cleveland. It is a dreary Monday after some of the wonderful weather that we had this weekend, which accompanied the NFL draft, which was hosted in the city of Cleveland. And it was a magnificent weekend. It was wonderful. And you know what? You're listening to her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. And you know what? I'm here with Cleveland Kate today, and we're going to be giving you the hottest sports talk in the world, given to you by women. So thank you so much for joining us. Cleveland Kate, how are you doing today? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I missed you, but I had a good time with you.
It was so nice to see you at the draft and spend time together.
I know, because it's funny how you don't even realize it sometimes has been a year since you've seen people due to the circumstances of the pandemic. So, you've been joining me on location. So I'm happy to have that. But I was happy to, be able to spend some girl time with you in an activity that, is something that is precious and a treasure to us all.
Yes.
So that was some good stuff. So how did the rest of your weekend go?
Well, Saturday morning, one of my grandsons made his first communion, so we had the church thing.
Awesome. Congratulations.
And then Sunday was a Russian Orthodox Easter, and my sister-in-law and her family are Russian Orthodox, so we went over to their house and did Easter dinner again.
Okay.
Which was funny because she said she got all her candy half price after our Easter.
Did you have any leftover from your Easter baskets?
Nothing
at all. So what is there, like, what does that, type Easter consist of?
It's just like our Easter. It's just later in the year. It's usually a week later, but for whatever reason this year it was really late. Like, I don't remember them having it in May before, but they use a different calendar. It's an Eastern Orthodox or a Russian thing. I don't quite get what calendar they're on. I call her when I know we're getting ready to start Lent, and I ask her when her Easter is, so she comes to our house and we go to her house.
Now, what is there a different types of food that's used? I'm assuming Russian Orthodox, that means Jewish. Is that correct?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
It's I would call it a version of the Catholic Church.
Okay, so pork was there? Did y'all have ham?
We had ham.
Okay.
We had lamb. Lamb is a big thing.
Oh, really? I love lamb.
Yeah.
I love lamb.
We had the regular stuff. Oh, she makes a beet and horseradish relish, grinds the beets up into little tiny pieces and mixes it with horseradish, and you put it on your ham. It's amazing.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then we usually, because of COVID, we didn't do it this year. We usually make something called cheese pasca together, and she orders all the ingredients, and then I usually come over on Good Friday. Because I usually take that day off work and I come over on Good Friday and we'll make all the batches of cheese pasca together. But this year, because of COVID, she just did it with her daughter. So you take like dry curd, almost like cottage cheese, the dry curds, and you mix it with, butter and sugar and cream and almonds chopped up and stuff. And then they mold it so it looks like a little pyramid. And then you use like gummy candies or like those like fruit slice candies to decorate it. Mm-hmm. And you eat it with like it's almost like a cheesecake texture or a consistency. So
it sounds like
it's really good.
It sounds like y'all was getting down.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We were eating like crazy, and it was great because it was not at my house. I got to be a guest. So I just grabbed 2 bottles of wine off the rack and took those over. And sat and ate, and the weather was so beautiful yesterday. We were outside after dinner and just sat outside and enjoyed the sun. Saturday was a little crazier. So this weekend, I mean, from the draft all the way through Sunday, I have been around more people than I have been around since COVID started.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because we technically were at a super spreader event.
And X and Sugar Booga, the face of the franchise, on Friday night. And then Saturday, we went to church for First Communion, and there were 10 kids. And they were each only allowed to have 7 guests, so they kept the number down. But my grandson, Raphael, his cousin, Melina, they both made their First Communions this weekend. So they had one big, huge combined party with like 60 people. And they are, my son-in-law's family is originally from Chile. So we had all kinds of amazing food Saturday night. hanging out with that family. We had some Peruvian fried rice, and we had a bunch of Chilean dishes. Their flan is to die for. And then we had, the Russian food on Sunday. So I haven't been around that many family members or friends since a year, since COVID started. And it was just weird that whole weekend, almost everyone I talked to had been vaccinated. It's just nice that we can get together now that so many people are handling that and taking care of this and taking it seriously, and that we can now get together in groups without worrying about what's going to happen afterwards.
I mean, I'm still a little nervous because we were kind of at a super spreader event when we think about it, so I'm like, I just don't know what's going to happen because of this. I'm wondering how many people, actually will come down with COVID, related to this event. So I'm actually a little concerned. I have one shot. I haven't had my second shot yesterday, but somebody I do know, they were due for their second shot. They were 2 days out and they got COVID. And he was just like, I wasn't being careful enough. So I'm hoping that I was careful enough. We wore our masks.
When we were in like the media room and in the draft tent and over by those activities, if you looked and you noticed a lot of those people, well, all the fans, but even a lot of the media had their stickers on that said that they had been vaccinated, because that was part of the deal with the NFL. They used the Clear app to get your medical information and clearance and took your temperature and did all that before you were let in. And then the fans who were inside in all the special places where they paid big money to get into the super fans and whatnot, all had to have proof that they had been vaccinated. So I think that limits your risk of exposure there. I was a little more concerned when we were over at First Energy Stadium at the NFL fan experience event with the families and the kids, which was so much fun to see the kids kicking footballs and trying to make field goals. And then outside there, they had you could run the 40-yard dash against your dad or against your brother or your sister and see who was faster. Those events, I felt like you were a little more at risk, because there's no telling. There was no screening to get into those. There was no, there was no way to know if someone had it and they were walking around with it. They weren't wearing masks or any of that. We did wear masks in the stadium. We did have masks on, but still, it was a little less health secure, I felt, ever at the stadium than it was at the actual draft venue.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. So we were safe. I felt safe. How did you enjoy your draft experience overall?
You know what? It was, I liked it. It was very new for me. I've covered a lot of different events. You and I have covered events here in Cleveland. We've covered the Indians, the Cavs, the Browns. We've gone to Pittsburgh and seen how their media handles things and how covering a game, when you're the away team, what that's like. And I've done, the Combine. I've done the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A couple of the ladies from our turf have done like the Pro Bowl and the Senior Bowl. The draft was very different. I wasn't sure what to expect. I felt like it was very different from other events that I've covered. So I don't know if that's just always how the draft is, or if it's a reaction to COVID, because like I've been to other things where, Pro Football Hall of Fame, they do the ceremonies, they reveal the bust, the player comes out and talks and does a speech, and then he walks around the back and there's this huge space where he answers questions and take pictures and everybody can get in there. And they didn't have that kind of a space here after the kids were drafted. And so there were just a lot of things that I thought would be similar to other events that I've done that were very different. But again, this is my first time ever going to the draft, let alone covering it with media credentials and access. So I don't know if this is different from other drafts because of COVID, or if it's just different from other events because the draft is different.
So one of the things that is getting some wind out there is that we might be in the kitty to host the draft again after a couple years.
Really?
We did an excellent job, but also by having everything ravaged by COVID, supposedly they're interested in seeing us do it again at full Cleveland and everything that comes with that. So there's a lot of feedback. A lot of people had, a good time. They didn't know Cleveland had a beach. They didn't know about how extensive our arts community is and things like that. So Cleveland is a hidden gem for a lot of people, and they had a good time. And reporters I talked to, one of the things that is always said is that Cleveland is very easy to navigate. So that's something that's always important. Also, the venue was very close to the stadium. So I kind of liked how it kind of almost was its own separate island out there, and everything was really close in proximity. Then you had some touristy type things. I think that the Science Center was close to the public, I believe, and only opened for us. But Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was open, so you had 2 sightseeing things there, and just all the people that were there.
Yeah, the only downside is that's really the perfect place to host this kind of event, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go from the stadium all along the lakefront, and you have all of this access to the pier where they created that draft palace or whatever we want to call it. That's not a building that was there. They built that on the pier for this draft.
Quickly.
All the way down the Science Center, Hall of Fame, all of that. The drawback to that is you've got, what is that? Route 290, whatever that is, coming across right on the other side of that, which separates you from the city of Cleveland, from downtown. So if you wanted to leave there and walk to a restaurant or go to do something else, it's a little bit of a walk.
Yeah.
And you couldn't, like, as we found out, you couldn't just call an Uber and have it pick you up in front of the Great Lakes Science Center, right? You had to walk. They had all those roads blocked off. So you had to walk and find someplace to get a car to go somewhere else. So that's a little bit of a drawback. It would be interesting if they did something like this again. And maybe it's something they're considering on a long-term thing. If you ever wanted to do, we'll never get the Super Bowl because of the weather, even if unless they redid the stadium and put a dome on it. But if you ever did, Summer Olympics are a possibility. There are enough college campuses near here that there would be enough housing and venues for that. It feels like some pedestrian bridges going over that highway into the city to where you could walk and get somewhere a little easier. But at the same time, I wasn't paying $15 for a brisket sandwich.
Yeah.
$14 for a beer. I get it. I understand when you're dealing with sports and entertainment that the food prices are going to be a little higher, but it wasn't easy to get to anything else. It would have been interesting if they'd had some of the local food trucks out there.
That is very true.
Set them up over maybe in front of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something.
Wasn't that something we talked about though? Wasn't that something we talked about with having food trucks lined up to make it easier? Because like you said, the food options there were very expensive. So if you have out of town people, they're not going to go walk up the hill like our trek. I was just laughing because of how tired we were. It's a lot of walking.
A lot that day. I got 10,000 steps in easy. My fake Fitbit was going off with my 10,000. We had walked a lot, and then I just hadn't realized that when we were ready to leave, we were going to have to walk the way, but what does not kill us makes us stronger. So we walked.
Right. And it was part of a great experience, but
and I don't know who ran the food options. I know right at Brown Stadium and at the Indians and Cavs games, it's local groups that come in and they man the booth and they get part of the proceeds for their basketball team or whatever their local charity is. I don't know who ran the food at the draft, if that was like the NFL and it was their money, or if it was a local Cleveland group that had, So I don't know if putting up food trucks was going to cut into somebody's profit because it would give people an option on where to go to eat, then maybe it would cut into that. So I don't know how any of the food was done from a financial standpoint on who benefited from that. If it was the NFL, well, shame on them. They should have let some food trucks come in so some local businesses could have taken it. If it was local Cleveland groups and charities and whatnot, then more power to them. So, I don't know how that's done, but you could have easily put food trucks up by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame out in front of there, especially with that road. You could have even done it on the access road in front of the Science Center because everything was blocked off to traffic.
But, that's an excellent point. I do wonder who was in charge of that food.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually was looking at it because my husband was asking me about the food and the pricing and stuff. And I've got all this information from the NFL on the draft and the music and the activities and this, that, and the other. And there was nothing in there about who was doing the food. So I don't even know who to ask about something like that. Like at the Indians games, is what just comes to mind. I know whenever I go up, there's usually a sign hanging in the back that'll tell you,
Airmark. Yeah.
Church of the Nazarene, or, East Side Boys Rec Basketball League, or whatever. Like, it tells you who they are that's manning the booth, and what charity you're supporting in a way by buying your food there. But I didn't see anything like that at these stands. But that doesn't mean that it didn't go to somewhere local. I don't know. But that's really the only thing that I would say is that for people who came down to the draft, if they only went around the draft venues, they missed out on a lot of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think a lot of them came for, you don't make this kind of trip for one night, right? So a lot of the people that came for Thursday night or Friday night stayed for the weekend and then spent Saturday and Sunday. I heard they had really great numbers at the zoo this weekend. I don't know if that was because of so much out of town traffic or because the weather was so nice, and people after the last few weeks we've had, Sunday especially was just such a gorgeous day that people wanted to get out in it. Waiting to see if there's any numbers sent out about exactly how many people we think came down. Yeah. I know someone told me 3.1 million, but I said, no, that was the championship parade. That was the
3.1 million
national championship parade. Can't be throwing that $3.19 million number around. It wasn't that many, but it was a good number of people that were here. I've not heard of any problems. I've not heard of any need for the police to be involved in anything. It was done really well. It surprises me that the NFL would think about bringing it back here so quickly, only because last year it was in Vegas, and Vegas got really hosed because of COVID. Like, we had some limitations because of COVID, but with Vegas, it was even more because it was so, 30 days into the pandemic and shutting everything down. And let's face it, when it comes down to where you're going to spend a weekend, Cleveland's going to lose to Vegas every time if someone has an option. It is what it is. But I think for those people who go to the draft every year, I think one of the things they found out is not only the surprising things about how nice it is in Cleveland, how many things there are to do. I think it surprised a lot of people how affordable it is to come to Cleveland, to stay in Cleveland, to take an Uber or a taxi, to buy food in general. It is much less expensive than it is to go to Vegas or LA or Miami, some of these other cities that have NFL teams that attract events like this. It costs you a lot more as a fan to go and do that.
Yeah, we're going to take a break really quickly. We're going to talk a little bit more about draft experience and get to the draftees for the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be right back. This is Her and Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Love and loss all from a distance. Celebrate mom up close, safely, face to face. Sunday, May 9th, Mother's Day at Silks for the Mother's Day reunion. A brunch and dinner concert just for mom, featuring Jay the Gospel Kid, with 3 shows and seating times to choose from. Salute the mothers in your life that are still here and honor the mothers that had a divine effect on our lives. Get your advance tickets today at samsilk.com or ssilks.com. SSYLKS.com. All tickets include food and live entertainment. Mask will be required for entry. Come honor your mother and mother figures Sunday, May 9th, Mother's Day at Silks with Jay the Gospel Kid, with 3 shows and seatings to choose from. 21300 Libby Road in Maple Heights. Don't miss it.
Hi, this is Al Grimes, Director of the Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative. We're wishing a very happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the Cleveland area. My mom happened to be the love of my life. I still miss her every day and wish she was still here. I know what a special place in life mothers are for everybody in the area. Happy Mother's Day.
Hello, Cleveland. This is Chief Williams of the Division of Police. Are you looking to make things better in your community for you and your family? Well, consider a career in law enforcement. The Cleveland Division of Police is looking for the next generation of guardians to protect and serve the citizens of our great city. We offer excellent pay and benefits for you and your family. Applications are being taken today at governmentjobs.com/careers/Cleveland. Apply today and make a difference.
This message is brought to you by the City of Cleveland and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Car community radio station.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Where did we get drops?
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Who was that dropping down on the Welcome Back to Her in the Huddle? Was that the face of the franchise?
Yeah, that was Sugar Booger who did an intro for us. Who did a welcome back for us. So thank you,
missed our
Sugar
theme
Booger.
song, but I like having a welcome back drop.
Which one though? Which theme song? We had a couple. You talking about Going Ape with Beyonce and Jay-Z?
Yes.
Yeah, we ain't played that in a long time. I gotta get Chris Styles to help us out with that. But that was the voice of Cleveland Kate. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. You can always give us a call 216-271-0959. You can listen to us live online at WOVU.org. And you can also make sure you download that WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. So right before we went to break, we were just talking about how much the draft was amazing experience for all of Cleveland. It was showcased beautifully. One of the things that I liked that I didn't really notice when I was actually there because it was kind of hard to see, but the Terminal Tower displayed the colors and logos of every NFL team that existed. So I thought that was really cool, and I didn't know they had the capability to do that. So I think that was something that added flair and added touch that was really cool out of the Terminal Tower. So there was a lot of things that were done that was just pretty dope. So I think, it'd be great for this draft to happen again. We were talking about how bad Vegas had it, how they were not able to host because of COVID, how life changed dramatically. But isn't it there next year?
I think so.
Yeah, so they have it next year, and then Cleveland possibly, rumors that it might, happen again soon because of COVID. So I think that we should be given those gimmies. I just think that there's just too much. Yes, it was a great turnout. Everybody had a great time, but I don't feel like it was the maximum it could be because of COVID. And I think the NFL knows that as well. And one of the things that you talked about before we went to break was the proximity of how many people we got. And also, I think Cleveland is a very easy city to get to as far as a highway system. And people were there from all over the country. You saw that guy, the super fan from the Seattle Seahawks. So I wonder how much, it was for him to come here. But like we said, the cost in Cleveland is very different to cost compared to other cities. And that's one of the reasons living here is so cost effective, and people who visit here see how cheaply it is to get here as well. And people could have even went to the zoo today for free. So it did rain today, didn't it? The zoo is free on Monday. So if they stayed in town and they looked up things to do.
I just checked the draft venues on Wikipedia because that's where I go for all my good information. Las Vegas was awarded the 2022 draft to make up for last year, and then Kansas City has it in 23. Okay. So that's as far out as they're scheduled. So they may end up coming back here in 24. That'd be nice.
I don't know that soon. I don't know about that.
You never know. We may be Super Bowl champs, but we will be Super Bowl champs between now and then. They're going to want to come here. That's why they
Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy? So one of the things, let's go ahead and get to it. So let's just talk about some grades first. So Chad Reuters of the NFL Network, grade A for the draft. Pro Football Focus, A+. Connor Orr, Sports Illustrated, A. Sporting News, A. The Ringer, A. The Washington Post, A-. Draft Wire, A. That is an A average. And that is not something that you typically hear coming out of a Cleveland Browns draft. Usually Cleveland Browns draft is usually like a C.
And it gets better. Because if you look at our division, overall, the Steelers got a C. The Bengals got a C. And the Baltimore Ravens got like a B-.
Yeah, they were
the same people who gave us an A. So not only did the Browns finally get it right, and frankly, Rachel, between me and you, any year you don't have to draft a quarterback is a year where it's very easy to do the right thing in the draft. So, glad they didn't mess that up. But it's just, I love reading the comments with the drafts and why they think the teams got what they, why they gave them the grades they gave them. And frankly, the biggest thing for the other teams in our division is compared to us is that they have these glaring positions of need that they did not address in the offseason. and they did not address in the draft. And the Browns did both. We did off-season signings to address places where we needed somebody, and then we drafted good, solid people for the positions that we have needs for. And there is not a space on this roster right now. There is not a space in the starting lineup where we don't have a quality individual. We don't need anything right now.
And depth
Other
behind
than we
that
need for
quality
these
individual.
people to actually perform. But on paper, we have addressed everything that we needed to address.
But how about also having depth behind those quality individuals, which is something that we have not been used to having. So some of the winners that came out of the NFL draft was the Baltimore Ravens, Carolina Panthers, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings, other than us. So these were the 5 teams that were deemed to be draft winners, which is huge because Cleveland is normally a very mid-league team. But one of the things, though, Kate, that is notable is that we had a plan and we stuck to it. This is a regime that has a goal, they have a plan, and they execute. And that is something that we have not seen in the longest time because it has been a cluster. You know, a lot of people talked about Sashi Brown because he was Harvard educated. A lot of people wanted Andrew Berry to fail because he's Ivy League educated as well. People didn't understand these statistics and analytics and all that and all those other things. But it looks like, to everyone's surprise, it is coming together. You look at the outcomes of last year.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I keep reminding people, and we're only a day, 2 days after the draft. And when people say exactly what you did, they had a plan, they executed it, they did. When was the last time the same group of people with the same head coach and the same starting quarterback went into a draft in Cleveland?
That it's hard to account
very
for.
hard to come up with a plan and stick with it when you need everything, when everything is changed, when every year it's a new quarterback, it's a new general manager, it's a new somebody it's a new starting quarterback. You need different weapons for this quarterback than that one. You need different things. The consistency of just our second year with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield as a threesome. This is only their second year together, but look at how much better we all feel about this team and what they've been able to do and how much easier it is for you to stick to your plan and not do anything stupid or crazy and reach for Brandon Reeden at 22 or some of the other insane moves that they've made in the past. It's easy to avoid those mistakes when you can start to build some consistency, when you know what the plan is. You didn't hire someone to build your house and then he quit after the basement was done. And then you had to hire someone else who did the first floor. And then you got to hire someone else who does the third floor. And he's like, nope, we got to rip the whole first floor out again and start over. We don't have to do that. And I think that plays a huge part in why they were able to go with this plan. And right now it looks really good.
But the thing is, they had an agenda and they stuck to it. And a lot of these regimes had their own agendas, which wasn't necessarily winning. Somebody was trying to do this. Somebody was trying to do that. One of the things that you saw in Hard Knocks was that our coaching staff, everyone had their own agenda and people were trying to overthrow the other. You have an organization that's actually working together. And one of the reasons why the Pittsburgh Steelers has been so successful is because they have an organization, they have a culture, they have a good culture. So they have been able to have sustained success. We never had identifying culture with this team. We never had a culture, and culture brings success from the inside out because you can't be any good on the outside if you're not any good on the inside. And that is one of the things that we finally have. We have people who get it. And I don't mind that they went to Ivy League schools. I don't care because guess what? 4 + 4 is the same answer on the board as Ohio State as it is at Harvard, whatever. But everybody is on one accord. And I like it. How much input do you think that people on the team, actual players on the team, might have had in this draft with the organization? Do you think that they got any input from the players at all?
No, they might have, because Baker is truly the leader of the offense and Myles Garrett is truly the leader of the defense. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some conversations if if there were comments made, if there were questions asked, because
maybe the positional coaches who then took it to the powers that
neither
be.
of them are that far removed from when they were in college. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
do you remember this guy who was a sophomore when you were there, or a freshman when you were there? Any thoughts? Have you heard anything from your contacts back at LSU about this guy or that guy? That kind of stuff. But when it comes down to who do you want me to take, I don't think that's a question that Andrew Berry asked anybody. Yeah,
they made the right moves to turn. One of the things that got tossed around so much this weekend after drafts, after players started to be drafted on this team, was Super Bowl. Where I'm not ready to go there just yet. I'm kind of there, but I want to temper my excitement. I don't like the way you're looking at me, Cleveland Kate. I want to temper my excitement, and I don't know if it's part of, DJ Cristales always says, stop being a fan, stop being a fan, stop being a fan. I don't know if it's part of 85 that, I'm flashbacking to. I want to be there, but realistically have to realize, okay, this is a process. We have to get out and win our schedule. We have to get out and do that. We're playing.
We have to win our division.
That is very true, because one of the questions I would ask people, can you get past Baltimore at least once? Because we couldn't do it once. We couldn't do it once last year. Can you get past Baltimore once? Because you have to do that in order to be in contention to win the division.
You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. We went fairly deep into the playoffs last year as a wild card team, and should have been in the AFC Championship game.
2 stops away.
And I always halt the brakes on that, because I'm like, you know what? Because in the back of my mind, I keep remembering we couldn't even win our division. So I never had us mentally go into the Super Bowl. I wanted us to win a couple playoff games and do exactly what we did, because we could not win our division. So I am not going to tell you that we're going to win the Super Bowl next year or even go to the Super Bowl this year. But I am going to say we're going to win our division. Barring a massive struggle with injuries or some other weird thing happening, there is no reason why this team cannot win the AFC North. It is absolutely built for it. We've got a balanced running game versus a passing game. We've got defense with edge rushers like Myles Garrett. You've got Jadeveon Clowney, who can rush from the edge or who can stop the run up the middle. You've got cornerbacks like Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams who better stay healthy, because I believe the young man named Gregory Newsome II that we drafted in the first round is going to give both of them a run for their money as a starting corner. We picked up safety. We picked up a lot of positions that we needed. I'm even optimistic about our kicking game with the Scottish Hammer. So this team is now built talent-wise. There's no talent excuses to be given to me. You can give them to me with the Cavaliers, and maybe you can give them to me with the Indians. There is no talent excuse that I want to hear for why this Browns team will not win their division this year.
All right. And I got to give you excuses. I got a break right now. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
The training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to try.c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C, where futures begin.
This message is brought to you by Tri-C and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
WOVU 95.9 FM LP is a community radio station that is an enterprise of Burton Bell Carr Development Incorporated, BBC, the nonprofit community development corporation, serving the greater Cleveland community through the terrestrial frequency of 95.9 FM. WOVU provides a vehicle to connect people to valuable information and resources through on-air broadcasting and associated social media platforms. WOVU addresses the concerns of the urban community with solutions-driven information that allows us to showcase Northeast Ohio talent and positive urban music not typically found on mainstream radio. We operate with the motto that people support what they help create. And WOVU, our voices united, provides exciting and creative ways to engage, involve, and uplift the community.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Hey, you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Cleveland Kate, and we were just touching upon our draft experience, and now we are about to get into some of these draft picks that we have. Everybody is super excited over some of the things that the Browns have done, pretty much A's all across the draft board, which is something that we really haven't seen, and I don't know how long since they've been grading drafts. I've never seen all A's across the board. There might have been like, a B or C that I saw out there, but pretty much the major publishing entities have said that the Cleveland Browns won this draft. They might have had the best draft in the league so far, and it's just to propel them to the next step in this journey. And before we left, I told Kate I was a little hesitant to say Super Bowl, but that is pretty much what we got from a lot of the fans. And I love the Cleveland Browns fans. They are diehards. They support their team through and through. Even when we went 0-16, some people probably said that there was still going to be a Super Bowl possibly on the horizon that year, just because we have hope and faith and belief. But now we have the quarterback that could get us there. As much as this love-hate relationship I've had with Baker, I do realize that Baker is a great quarterback. He made a lot of strides last year. I think he's going to make a lot of strides next year. Case, what are you doing? He's going to make a lot of strides this year. Again, he has an offense that's set. Odell Beckham will be back, so he'll be able to see what he can do with that receiver, and hopefully Odell can have a huge impact. He has that offensive line that's going to stand up for him, but also he has a defense, or is anticipated to have a defense, that's going to get him the ball back and put him in favorable positions defensively in order to help this team win the games, because they're going to be able to have some stops this time. So, Kate, what are your thoughts about the first round pick of Greg Newsome II, cornerback from Northwestern?
So I love that he's from Northwestern. I love that the scouts actually pay attention to Big Ten football and not just Ohio State and Michigan. They actually pay attention to all the teams in the Big Ten. People were asking me on the first night who I wanted the Browns to take, and there were three guys that I really liked. One of them was Greg Newsome. One of them was JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And then the other one was a guy named Trayvon Moehrig. They're all defenders, safeties, cornerbacks, people that work in the secondary. And when they got Newsome, I was super thrilled, super excited. I thought it was a long shot that they would get him, but they did. And he's just, you got to give some props to the Big Ten and to Northwestern. They actually had two Wildcats go in the first round this year. And that's a big deal for a school like that. That's going to help them with their recruiting and stuff, when they go to after all those kids who aren't good enough to get into Ohio State. Between Denzel Ward and Troy Hill and then Newsome, you could have, we're going to see a lot of packages this year with three wide receiver sets against us, with some, two wide receiver and tight end sets and whatnot. And there are times where you're going to need to have three true corners on the field. And we could do that if we needed to. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't take some starting reps from Denzel pretty early in the season.
Well, I foresee him probably taking more reps from Greedy than Denzel, because we don't know what the deal is with Greedy. And then keep in mind also with Greg Newsome, he was an All-American, which is great. I don't know too many All-Americans coming out of Northwestern, but one of the things that the Browns are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to upgrade their length and speed at the corner position and allow them to play far more man coverage, because that's one where we was getting beat at a lot of the time last year.
He runs a sub 4.40, which is wicked fast. I actually... wicked's my word of the day, even though I'm not from New England. I actually read an article from one of the guys at ESPN who said that we're going to have a wicked nickel package on defense. When was the last time they said nice things about our secondary on defense? So
yeah, but also think about the corner blitzes that we'll be able to run too.
Yep.
So especially with him being speedy coming in from the outside as well, disguise some blitz packages and things like that. So there's going to be a lot that you could probably do with him. And some people thought that he was going to go a little bit earlier, but he was there at 26. So that's going to be a huge upgrade. And like you said, shout out to Northwestern. They still did lose against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Go Bucks, Big Ten champions. So Greg Newsome is, like I said, I feel like he's going to be able to fill in more for Greedy because we don't know where Greedy is at just yet. And they said if there is another huge hit to Greedy, that could be it because he has a dead shoulder. So, but also too, I love the sportsmanship and the gamesmanship because Greedy was one of the first people to tweet, "Welcome to Cleveland." So guess what?
Absolutely, because this is not about me, I.
Exactly.
This is about we as a team are going to win the division. We as a team are going to get to the Super Bowl. We're going to do what we're going to do. And I like that as well. I also I saw a few tweets from people who are like, oh, I can get out my old school Newsome jersey and wear it again to the stadium for those of us who remember Ozzie Newsome and, as a Browns player, not as the general manager there in Baltimore. So it'll be good to have another Newsome on the field wearing the brown and orange.
So also with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, so we're all going to have a hard time trying to get that straight. So we're just going to
call him JOK.
Practice. Now this is first round talent who dropped down to the second round. So reports have came out today that one of the reasons why he dropped down was because he has a heart condition that pretty much had came up before. But the Browns went ahead and took a flyer on him, and he was a steal at that position at the draft. So one of the things that he's going to bring, he's come off of a good team. Notre Dame pretty much had a good year. Now they did lose in the college football playoff, right?
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I think one of the advantages that you have in Cleveland, and I know these NFL teams have access to all kinds of doctors and all kinds of resources and stuff, but don't for a minute discount the fact that there were concerns that he had a heart issue, and he went to a team that is in the same city as the number one heart.
They're like, we got it
in the country.
We got you.
We got you. We're gonna bring you in. We're gonna get you checked out. If there's a problem, we're gonna fix you. If it don't work, it don't work. But the risk reward was there, and Barry took it. And according to my sources, he went through a full battery of cardio tests and stuff at the clinic this weekend, and he passed with flying colors. So there ain't nothing to be worried about.
Which is awesome because you can float him between linebacker and safety. So and linebacker was a desperate area of need for us. So that was something that you were able to address. And they said that he has a tremendous range and he has the ability to cover and blitz, and he excels in playing space. So those zone coverages
he's a lot like,
is going to be a great pickup for us.
He's very similar the way he plays to, and I hate comparing players to other players, but he's similar to me to Darius Leonard out of the Colts.
Okay. Yeah, but we struggled in man-to-man coverage and we struggled in zone. So we just struggled mightily no matter what type of defensive scheme you wanted to play. We just sucked at defense. But now you actually drafted players who can fit into those and play up to those strains. And with those complex defensive coverage, they're not really that complex.
Yeah.
But you have players who can figure those things out. And players like Anderson Sandejo, thank you for your service. You're a free agent. We appreciate everything that you did for us. Now, Anthony Schwartz... I'm just saying,
wow,
we have made so much fun of Anderson Sandejo on here. I'm sorry, it's just awful. But one of the interesting picks was Anthony Schwartz, and this guy is a speedy receiver out of Auburn. So one of the things that I think that they were looking at. Well, once Odell went out, we noticed that there was a lack of speed within the receiving core. Solid hands, but not a ton of pickups. Not a ton of pick up a yardage after the catch because there's no real speed.
When you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and the defense wants to put 10 in the box and come at you, you need receivers that are fast to keep them honest and to make them keep a couple guys back, because Baker can get rid of that ball quick now. That second half of last season, his speed and ball release was vastly improved, and I think led to a lot of his success. And if you've got somebody who can catch the ball and go, like his feet are on fire, or if the line buys Baker enough time that he can let him get separation and downfield, you are very dangerous. And that was really the only thing this offense missed last year. Yes, Jarvis found a way to get it done, and he came through with some incredibly clutch catches at the end of the season last year and in the playoffs. David Njoku had some very nice clutch catches at the end there.
And
Austin
yards
Hooper
after
had
catch
a very
because he's
nice
hard
year
to bring
with us,
down.
but ain't none of those boys as fast as we need somebody to be. We need a Josh Gordon. We need somebody who can make those defenders go with them downfield and give some room up front for the running game.
And they say he's a great route runner, and I think he's the fastest person in the draft. So that's a great thing because Baker wants to be able to go deep, but you need the speed. You need somebody to be able to put a move on the corner and be able to get downfield for you in a hurry. So we got to take another break really quickly. Time goes so fast when we're having fun, but we're going to be right back. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
A WOVU listener has called to congratulate WOVU 95.9 FM, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and the Cleveland NAACP chapter for hosting the consent decree. And we are very proud to say on Wednesday, May 12th at 6 o'clock p.m., we will host discussion number 5 on the topic of crisis intervention and officer wellness. Learn about the crisis intervention program that helps officers and the community respond to an individual in crisis. We will discuss efforts to reduce the risk of serious injury or death during an emergency, interactions between officers and people experiencing mental health crisis. Gain insight on how the criminal justice system affects officers on duty and long-term physical and mental health issues they face. Join us for this free virtual discussion moderated by Harry Boomer, anchor and senior reporter for Cleveland 19 News and 2018 Cleveland Journalism Hall of Fame inductee. You can find more information and register at unitedwaycleveland.org. That again is unitedwaycleveland.org for your chance to learn how Cleveland leaders and the Cleveland Police Department will work together to improve relations in our community. Please join us for this free virtual discussion on the consent decree on Wednesday, May 12th from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here on WOVU 95.9 FM or log on to WOVU.org and listen to our live stream because together we can elevate change in our community. This is brought to you by WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, and Burton Bell Carr Community Radio Station, Solution Driven.
Hello, this is Dr. Vinaya K. Jones at Cleveland Veterinary Clinic.
Hi, this is Eric Nolan, the host of TENS, The Eric Nolan Show.
Yo, what it do? It's your girl DJ Coco Z, and you rocking out to WOVU 95.9 FM.
Welcome.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle, WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, and I'm here with Cleveland Kate. We are headed to the home stretch of our show. We started going over some of these draft picks, but I think we'll be able to hit all of the draft picks before we go. We're going until 7 p.m. tonight. So round 4, number 110 overall, James Hudson, offensive tackle, Cincinnati. So the Browns actually stayed in the state to bolster their offensive line with Hudson. So we did lose top tackle Kendall Lamb in free agency. So he's going to have the opportunity to develop into a rotational piece. So that's something that's actually very important because, Kate, when is one of the last times that we could actually, when you think about this roster, just think about how difficult training camp is going to be and how hard it's going to be able to come down to 53 people on this roster with the talent that we have on both sides of the ball now.
Well, that's a nice problem to have, isn't it, Rachel?
Yeah, we ain't used to doing it.
There were times where we weren't sure they had 53 people to put on the roster.
Nope.
I'm hearing they may expand the roster to 57 because of COVID still.
Okay.
But it's still, I don't know how they're going to get down to 99. I don't. And some of these players are just, I'm excited to see what they look like in camp, what they look like, next to the big boys, so to speak, next to the pros that are a few years older than them, have a little more muscle on them and whatnot. So, we'll see. James Hudson's 6'4", 313 pounds. He got an 82-inch wingspan, girl. He could did you ever do that in school where they line you up and then they tell you to put your hands out to separate from the person next to you? He'd be on the other side of the room.
Mine is pretty short because I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'6", so I don't really have a tall wingspan. Don't have long fingers or anything. Like my sister and my father are the tall ones in the family, and it kind of, got away from me. But also, he has a kind of an uphill battle because he's competing against some other people on the roster: Alex Taylor, Greg Sinat, also Drew Forbes, Michael Dunn, a guy named Blake, Colby Gossett, and then also we can't forget about Chris Hubbard.
Introduce himself to Baker.
And
But to your earlier point, we needed depth at offensive line, and Hudson will fit there very nicely. Next, they got my Tommy boy out of defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Ohio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Defensive tackle depth. Then they went Troy Fields out of West Virginia at linebacker. Richard LeCount at safety at the end of the 5th round was actually a really nice pick. He's one of the safeties that I liked in this draft. I knew he would go late rounds. I wasn't sure if anyone else was looking at him, if he would be available for us, but he is one of the few people that I kind of had on my radar. I don't worry a lot about the late rounds. And then they grabbed, people were laughing. They grabbed a running back in the 6th round, Demetric Felton out of UCLA, which I think is hilarious. I mean, we grabbed one wide receiver and one running back, and everything else is defensive line. Everything else was defensive line, which is what this team needed to do. We needed depth. We needed secondary players. We needed everything else that they went and got. I'm very happy with what they did. Even the trades they did, trading to go back and get JOK. They had 9 draft picks. You can only sign 7 players, right? So they had to get rid of some of them anyway. Didn't cost us very much to move back up and get JOK, in round 2. And then just they didn't do anything crazy. To your point, they stayed with their plan. They got best player on the board is the best way to draft, right? And it's been a long time since this team has been able to just sit back and go, okay, who's the best player? Who's up next on our board? And it's our turn. Let's just take the best player on the board. And I think they did that with some of their last picks, which is just amazing. And it's a great place to be in. Training camp is going to be super fun. I hope that if COVID has slowed down enough and calmed down enough, that we'll actually be able to get to training camp and watch some of these guys, some of these young men working to earn their spot on the team. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, and Tommy Togai from Ohio State University is still a work in progress. So he kind of, I guess did he opt out in the season? I think that's one of the things that I'm reading.
Yeah, there were a lot of players in this draft.
So
I was getting frustrated with some of the commentary, when people are talking about, this receiver is the best receiver in the draft. And I'm like, actually, he's not. He didn't play last year.
Yeah.
He wasn't up for the Heisman. He wasn't the player that won the Heisman. He's a very good wide receiver who took 2020 off because of COVID. You don't give him props like that when he took a year off. I understand the need to take the year off. I understand the concerns with COVID and your health and your future and all of that. I just think you need to talk about them a little differently than the way some of these commentators were blowing up some of these SEC players, because that's how they do. They don't say nice things about the Big Ten players. It's the SEC players where they blow all that smoke. But, I mean, Tommy is a work in progress, but he's someone that I think if he doesn't make the 53-man roster, will absolutely make the practice squad, because as soon as there's an injury, he'll be bumping right up.
And that'll give him time to develop. So
it'll be interesting to see how quickly he develops from a work in progress to NFL ready this summer.
Yeah, and Tony Fields, the second linebacker out of West Virginia. So he had 287 tackles at Arizona before transferring to West Virginia. So he's a tackling machine. And what was one of the things that the Cleveland Browns was unable to do, and they've been able to do these past years? Hold on, I got a sound effect for that. Thanks for playing, and tell her what she's won. A new car. Yes, so that is one of the things that we've had issues with. I mean,
we had offensive linemen who looked like they were on roller skates because they couldn't keep their feet planted, and we couldn't tackle. You'd have thought the other players had grease pigs, had Vaseline all over them, something. We couldn't tackle anybody. We couldn't take them to the ground. We'd wrap them up and then let them go. And that has not been our problem the last couple of years. And I love the addition of a linebacker who's got a proven record of being able to tackle big bodies.
Yeah, and then number 169 overall, Richard LeCount, safety, Georgia. So that's another, area of need. So with Grant Delpit still working back from the Achilles, LeCount can also return kicks as well. Yeah. And, Donovan Peoples-Jones, my God, I just don't understand some of the thinking on the kick return. So I think it'll be awesome to have a little bit of different depth and dynamic back there about what the strategy is going to be with kick returns, because Lord knows that we need it.
Listen, I love DPJ. I don't care where he went to college at. You and a few other people I could name need to get over that. His loyalty is now to the brown and orange. We did not have, in my opinion, coach punt returning the way it needs to be coached. It felt, in general, special teams felt like an afterthought last year. And I expect that to be a much improved part of our game this year.
Yeah, and that's going to be because Jim will say the game is won on special teams. And Demetric Felton, wide receiver, UCLA. So he's a running back receiver who can get out in the open and bring a change of pace back in the backfield. He'll challenge Dearness Johnson for the role of number 3 running back. One key addition as well was Marvin Wilson, Florida State. So he went undrafted as a free agent. So he had a 4-year career at FSU, playing 39 games, started 19 on the interior defensive line. He had 15.5 tackles for a loss, 9.5 sacks, and 110 total tackles as a Seminole. So he's going to be somebody that they're looking to develop as well. And they said that he was a steal as an undrafted free agent. So that's going to be a great thing. They signed him to a rookie contract, $30,000 signing bonus with $162 in guaranteed base salary per year. And there was actually a bidding war that the Cleveland Browns won between various teams who wanted this talent. So just a couple more signings as well. Running back Trey Harbison, Charlotte. Defensive end Romeo McKnight, Charlotte. Cornerback Emmanuel Ragamba, Miami of Ohio. Cornerback Keandre Thomas, Kansas State. And those are some of the undrafted free agents that were signed as well.
Well, so I'm gonna throw a shout out there to the Washington football team. I don't know when they're gonna get a name. I'm kind of getting used to just calling them the Washington football team.
Maybe never.
I don't know. They actually signed a player 2 weeks before the draft because he's 23. So his draft class has come and gone, by the name of Sammy Reyes. He was born in Chile, moved to the United States when he was 14, never played football, played soccer and basketball growing up. He's built like LeBron James. He played basketball here. He played basketball in college and went to IMG down in Florida. And one of his coaches said to him, have you thought about football? Because you're built like a tight end. And he was like, no, I've never played that before. And they started him playing. And the Washington football team signed him in April to a 3-year contract to play tight end for them. I'm going to keep my eyes on him because maybe, Rachel, what we need to do is instead of watching college football, we need to go check out some of these basketball schools and talk some of these boys into playing tight end because apparently that's a better way to go.
Well, I mean, I'm not too unhappy with our tight ends. I think Austin
he's the first player born in Chile to ever be signed to an NFL contract.
Oh, wow. Well, the NFL is trying to make this more of a global game. Yep. I don't really think they're going about it too well, but I mean, what do you think about the possibility?
They're going to England, which is nice, except they're never going to be able to get away from soccer over there. There's too much. But I think when you go south, when you go to the countries that send us baseball players and basketball players, they're more willing to do other sports if it's a way out, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I think they would do better to head back to Mexico City and to some of these other cities in South America and try to get more of a following there. Plus, then you don't have the time zone issue, right? When you go to London, that's 10 hours behind. You play in Mexico City, it's the same time zone as Texas. So that's something they also need to start thinking about.
Yeah, maybe we can be part of the NFL to go help and build the game in other countries. Maybe
you and I should get the NFL a franchise in Jamaica. Let's go scout it out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, Cleveland Kate. Well, I want to thank you so much for today, for this weekend, your insightfulness, all the fun that we have, and great show today. And we're looking forward to seeing how some of these pieces and parts fit together. And we'll definitely be able to see how it goes throughout the next few months, because it's pretty much football time. Spring game,
girl, I had so much fun.
We're here.
We're here. So much fun covering the draft with you. With COVID and everything, we haven't gotten very many opportunities to cover sports
all right,
together.
And we
so that was amazing.
Thank you for listening. We are out of here.